Okay, we're gonna pick it up. We're gonna pick it up from siman Reish Nun over here. The Levush. We're gonna start with the Levush. We're gonna go in chronological order because last time we successfully finished the Torah in Shulchan Aruch. Levush writes, Klaimar. We're just gonna go to the highlights. This is talking about even if someone has a lot of servants, you should still strive, and we're gonna come back to that word, to personally be involved with the preparations of Shabbos. Klaimar. If a very important person would be coming to our house, we would be hosting this guest, for sure, we ourselves would personally fix the house and prepare everything for this chosh of a guest, and we would also order the kalim that were needed as well. We would be masader it, we would order it, we would make sure that everything is good. Kal v'chaymer l'Shabbos l'kavdo. Kal v'chaymer, this certainly applies for what? For Shabbos. Soon. Until 10. 10, yeah. So, Kal v'chaymer, that this will go until Shabbos. That this would apply to Shabbos. In other words, Shabbos is ki'ilu, like a guest that's coming to our house. And therefore, just like if an actual guest would come to our house, we would be ever so careful to set everything up perfectly. So then, so too, when it comes to this Nakud as well, that Shabbos is, it says, if it's a guest, it says, if Shabbos is a very important guest coming to our house, and we have to be careful to set the table, to set the entire house, very carefully prepare the entire house. And in particular, we're learning Reish Nun, of course. We already learned about the table over there, setting the table and everything else. Preparing the house, Reish Shamach, Reish Shamach Beis. How many times do those siman get shout outs? But this is talking about preparing the food, getting it ready, getting the food ready. All right. Now the Levush says, "Filu sarach lema'it." No, let's come back to the Levush. Let's take a look at the Eliyah Rabbah over here. The Eliyah Rabbah writes, "Mitzvah lahamtin al yoim vav liknois ma'achalim." There's a mitzvah to wait until specifically Erev Shabbos Kodesh, which in English is called Friday, to purchase food for Shabbos. Even though it's more of a burden than the rest of the week. In other words, the supermarkets are busier on Erev Shabbos. Typically, the Central Avenue is more bumper to bumper. It's harder to maneuver over there. No, doesn't matter. It's best to buy all the food Erev Shabbos. Now we're gonna slice and dice literally this halacha that the Eliyah Rabbah is teaching us, because there are definitely, for every single rule, like Grandfather Shalom used to say, there's always exceptions. If it's the way of people to sell in the morning, we'll come back to this idea also. So if you're not going to be able to purchase something afterwards, so then don't establish a time to be kovei itim, to learn before you're involved with the purchasing the food for Shabbos. Rather, first purchase the food and then sit and learn. All right, so we're going to come back to that idea about learning before being involved with the necessities of purchasing food for Shabbos. But nevertheless, we see this idea of that Friday is the preferable time to purchase food for Shabbos. And we're going to come back to that more in detail as well. We're going to come back to that today. This is talking about if a guy, he woke up a little late and now he's got a daven, right? So let's say Sofsman Kriyat Shema, making up a number. You know what? I'm not gonna make it up. We're in the winter time of the year. I'm gonna go straight to this week's parsha. I'm gonna give a very practical example of what this is talking about, so that we should have the best understanding that we could possibly have.
What's the story with the daylight savings time?
Yeah. So here, daylight savings. I'm just talking about what the time is today. So take a look over here. Sofsman Kriya Shema over here is, according to the Magen Avram, 9:03 today and 9:39. Wow, it's the same time for 4 days in a row. Wow. Yeah, no, it's gonna start getting later. Yeah. Yeah, later for a little bit and then earlier. So we're gonna be around this 9:40 Sofsman Kriya Shema Vilna going for a good 3 weeks. 9:39. That's gonna be the time. It's gonna stay for almost a month. Wow. I'll call upon him. All right, this isn't okay to me. I never daven this late, but anyway. So let's say a person is going to the 9 o'clock chakras over here. There's a 9 o'clock in the white show, right? So he's gonna go to a 9 o'clock. Yeah. So during the week also, I think, right? There's definitely one after the 8:30. So the point is that the fellow's gonna go to this minion. Now the idea is that he has over here a shiloh that comes up, because if he's gonna go to this minion, right? So now the problem is that what's the story with the preparations of Shabbos? So he's saying that that if you're going to be involved with the preparations, as we're going to learn about more before davening, that's no problem. So let's say, for example, you're going to go to a 9:30 shachris. All right, so that's now you're not going to make the siman kriyat shema even of the gra if you're going to a 9:30, and they have 9:30s, plenty of them. So now what he should do is be involved with buying the food for Shabbos, and then he should recite Shema, and then he should recite Shema, and then he will daven after. All right, so we're gonna come back to all this. There's a lot over here. All right, and he's saying that if there's a last minion in town that you could go to, Ein Lachasid Laschased Yosem et Tzibur. If they're davening, don't be more pious than the tzibur. I think what that means is be involved with the necessities of Shabbos. Rather, you should daven with the minion. All right, we're gonna come back to that. Then Levush says something which is, it doesn't seem so controversial, but the Mefarshim actually they grapple with this a little bit. Vafilu sarech lamay limudo al yedei sheyachin tzarich Shabbos. Even a person needs to decrease the amount that he's going to learn and start preparing for Shabbos. That's what he should do. Yamay limudo v'yachin l'Shabbos the mitzvah gedoylehi. So if the person needs to learn less in order that he'll be involved with the preparations for Shabbos, that's in fact what he should do. He should decrease the amount that he learns, and he should prepare for Shabbos, because it's a big mitzvah. So this itself obviously is case dependent on the individual, and we're going to see that they're going to talk about, some of the Mefarshim are going to talk about exactly who is this referring to, right? This certainly is not referring to a bacher in yeshiva. A bacher in yeshiva, everything is prepared for him. The guy doesn't need to do squat, so therefore he certainly, or perhaps, right, at least should not decrease the learning, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna have to figure out who exactly is referring to and what's the source of the Levush. Where is the Levush coming from when he says that a person should learn less to prepare for Shabbos? Granted, the Gemara in Shabbos, Kuf Yud Testament Aleph, talks about the chashivas of preparing for Shabbos and all the chashav amaran, but nevertheless, this at least you could at least ask a question on this. So the Mabusha Yom Tov over here says Sfarad Denafshe. The Levush made this up by himself. It was his own logic, his own thinking when he said that a person should learn less on Erev Shabbos. It must be, it's assumed that all these Choshava Amoraim that are mentioned in the Gemara were always involved in learning Torah. And even so, as the Gemara teaches us, as we saw already in the Torah Shulchan Aruch, they stopped their learning. Why? In order to be involved with the preparations of Shabbos. So that could very well be the explanation. Comes along the Eli Rabbah with a slight twist, and he delves a little deeper into this idea that the Mabusha Yom Tov is presenting over here. As far as the Nashim is fine. He begins by quoting this Malbusha Yom Tov that we just learned. V'timahani. I wonder, what on earth is the Malbusha Yom Tov talking about? Shalo ayin mashakasav Ramah sof siman reishon alf. The Malbusha Yom Tov obviously never learned the Ramah in the next siman. The Ramah at the end of siman reish mem aleph discusses, and it's from a Yerushalmi Meseches Tainis Parak Aleph Halacha Ches Umizeh Halacha Levushar. The Ramah says that one should learn less on Erev Shabbos, and the Ramah is coming from a Yerushalmi Meseches Tainis. Yerushalmi over there in Meseches Tainis says that one should in fact learn less on Erev Shabbos. So I don't understand why the Mabusha Yom Tov was unsure where the Ramah was coming from. I don't know what he was talking about over here. It's explicit. It's a Yerushalmi. What is he talking about?
The Levush came after the
Levush chronologically came after the Ramah. The Levush is the Levush. If you in the Divrei Chamudus on Maseches Brachos, there's an acronym for the Levush. The acronym is Rami. Rami, it's not talking about Jin Rami over here. It's talking about Rabbi Mordechai Yafe. So he is a Talmud Muvhak of the Ramah. That's the Levush. So he came right after the time of the Ramah.
And Magen Avram fits where in there?
The Magen Avram came I think even after the Levush, the Magen Avram, if I'm not mistaken.
Who's quoting the Magen Avraham? This Chassid.
Who's quoting the Magen?
Because if we go back
Hold
up.
on. No, this is the Eli Rabbah.
No.
Don't
Go
get
back
confused.
up to the top.
Go back up to the top.
Yeah, and
Oh, that was the previous Eli Rabbah. Let me see.
Oh, that was
That was the previous Eli Rabbah.
so
The Eli Rabbah is a comment. Yeah, the Eli Rabbah's on the Levush. I mean, the way that they present
But
it in the Levush.
so he comes also the same time as the Magen Avram, a little after, I guess.
Who came after the Magen Avram?
The one you just quoted, the Elio Rabbah.
The Eli Rabbah came after the Magen Avram. Yeah, 100%. The Eli Rabbah, I'm not sure historically if it's officially a sefer on the Levush or not. The way that they set it up, it's a sefer on the Levush. I have at my house. I mean, when I was starting to get more serious about halacha, I didn't realize this. I bought. It's a big, large sefer, Eli Rabbah, big, red, tall, and it's the entire Orach Chaim in one huge sefer. I didn't realize that in the souped up the edition of the Levush that the Eli Rabbah comes. If I would have known, I would have not bought the other sefer. I never opened the sefer. It's a waste because I have it down over here. It's all in one stop shop. You get everything. It's beautiful. You get the Eli Rabbah, Eli Azuta, Mabusha Yom Tov.
We don't know if it actually was a parish on this.
Right. So I'm not sure historically, but I am sure about this. Which is that from a historic perspective, the tour was basically too hard for the average person in terms of understanding it, and it's longer than the Shulchan Aruch. But the problem with the Shulchan Aruch is it's too concise. You don't get a lot of times an understanding of for the mitzvahs and for the halacha. So what the Levush decided to do is he tried to compromise and mesh the style of the tour and the Shulchan Aruch together, which is it's going to say more direct halacha l'maisa, not as long as the Torah, but it will also provide some reasons and some additional halacha. So that was why the Levush made this work from a historic perspective. That I do know. Okay, but I want to take a look over here, take this opportunity to look at the Ramah at the end of siman Reish Nun Aleph, because I think it's kedai to do. I didn't officially make a whole PDF over here on it, but I'm going to pull it up right now in the Otzar Chachma, because I think it's worthwhile to be aware of this Ramah and where we're coming from, and it's directly related for what we're learning now. The Ramah is at the end of siman Reish Nun Aleph, which is a lachas of when you need to stop working before Erev Shabbos, actually. So he says, "V'yesh la'adam lama'id ksas b'limudo b'erev Shabbos kedei sheyachin sarchi Shabbos." Person should learn less on Erev Shabbos in order that he should prepare for the necessities of Shabbos. So the question that let's just turn back over here momentarily to the Eli Rabbah over here. The Eli Rabbah is questioning the Mabusha Yom Tov. Why is the Mabusha Yom Tov questioning the source of the Levush who said that you should learn less on Erev Shabbos? It's explicit in the Ramah. Now that's an excellent question. What would the Mabusha Yom Tov answer? If anyone knows, please let us know. Because it seems like it's an unanswered question. It's complete slugger. It's knockout punch. All right, but anyways, let's just go down to the Mishnah Berurah over here before we jump to conclusions and say I'm going to be very pious and learn zero Torah today, because that's not what a person's supposed to do. Now, comes along over here the Mishnah Berurah and says in Tess, if a person's got a type of a servant in the house, housekeeper, a wife, we're going to see the Aruch Hashulchan, not to jump to conclusions, but the Aruch Hashulchan over here is gonna apply the concept of Ishto Kigufo, that if a person's wife is gonna prepare for Shabbos, so then he doesn't really need to do much. So we'll come back to that Aruch Hashulchan, which is interesting because usually Aruch Hashulchan is a little more not like that style, but we'll come back to that. So he says if a person has a servant, Zok the Mishnah Berurah, especially if you already started with the preparations on Thursday, for sure you can learn. Talking about, let's say some people, the whole table's already set Thursday night, the candles are already prepared. I'm saying you could get a lot done already from Thursday night, right? So therefore, this is the Indian over here. All right. So now comes along and says, Miu Mikol Malcolm. You need to fix something for Shabbos. Even if a person has many servants. Person should at least do something, as it says in siman reish nun, as we know. So what do we see from over here? We see from over here that this is the exact case of a yeshiva bacher. Guy's learning yeshiva. The guy doesn't have to do squat. He jumps in the shower. He puts on his suit. He doesn't have any makeup. The guy, no reason at all why a yeshiva bacher can't be learning up until an hour before Shabbos. That includes the summer when Shabbos starts in the sevens. Guys, the base measures, as far as I'm concerned, should be packed. People learning. Now,
We didn't learn about this.
Yeah.
We
didn't touch that. That's another siman. We're learning about the preparations of Shabbos. We're grouping all the simanim together. You're getting a whole smorgasbord, and you're getting 55 main courses. You're getting all that, but it's only the preparation of Shabbos. We're going to learn about that another time. It's Hashem comes along, and as far as I'm concerned, this is more exciting than not working.
No, I'm just saying it from my side.
Yeah, it's important to know. Yeah, we'll come to
talking about how much you could accomplish, but also.
Yeah, we'll come back to the work.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about learning over here. It says the Mishnah Berurah in Ches. He says, "Look, ain koyim yeshiva beis makom be'erev Shabbos." Exactly not what I just said. So you don't have an official seder of yeshiva on Erev Shabbos. Now you've got to know your yeshiva, know your situation. I want to see, how did those Vahadar actually learn this line? Those Vahadar Mishnah Berurah over here. What is this over here? Sikum halacha simons. Wow, they're really getting involved over here. All right, let's take a look over here. Ches, where has Ches gone? Shelimud hayeshiva hu davar shein lo kitva. That's what it is. If you have a whole yeshiva that's coming along to learn, so that doesn't have an amount that a person could get caught up with, and therefore he could get caught up with and preoccupied. And when a person's learning a deep sugya, like imagine we would just sit here right now and we just wouldn't end. Imagine we just kept going and we just learned through this entire siman in one shot. That would take some time. As you know, to get through simanim, it takes time properly to learn everything. So there's no set amount. The problem is, and this is why actually they explain what's the difference between, we're going to learn in Mitzvah Hashem more about this, is that a person is allowed to purchase items for Shabbos even before Shachris. There's a halacha in Siman Pei Tes. Maybe better. Gemara in Brachos as well. It comes up in Brachos.
I think this is
Daf Yud, I think maybe. So it comes up over there, right? Because the Mishnah is on test. Comes up over there. So I think Yudam and Beis. So a person can't do his needs before. No, this is Sarchi Shamayim. These are needs of heaven. So they ask the question. I understand. Why could you purchase Shabbos food for Shabbos before Tefillah? But now learning is a problem even after Tefillah. It could be a problem. So the answer is no. Learning is something which takes a lot more time than buying food for Shabbos. Buying food for Shabbos, even when there's traffic and parking, and you don't know the best places to park and the best side streets around the traffic. Speak to me later. I'll tell you all those streets and the best parking spots, which are always available without rip-off meters and the crazy meter maids over here. But anyways, so if you don't know those spots, even so, and it takes you time and you 15 minutes of hakafas in the worst parking lot in the whole 5 towns, gourmet glot, even so, it's still not going to be as bad. It's not going to take up as much time, as learning. When a person's learning, you get caught up. So therefore, that's the difference between learning. Now, Ubesefer Seder Hayom. Now, we're going to be seeing a tremendous amount of the Seder Hayom, this Sefer Seder Hayom in this siman. We're going to be learn more from the Sefer Seder Hayom than I think any other siman that we learned thus far combined. There's a tremendous amount of insights and chedushim from the Seder Hayom. Cost of the Okay, so let's say a person's learning a set amount. Nowadays, a lot of people who are kovei itim, they learn the daf yomi. Gavaldik, so it's a set amount after one and done, 1 hour, and then they're done, finished. Now, shaloi mirim rabim, or let's say you're learning with a lot of people, so even if it's not a set amount, al yivatlanu, you cannot miss that learning time. You've got a set time to learn with the chabura. You can't miss that time, even Erev Shabbos, and that's, by the way, why we're sitting here right now, Erev Shabbos Kodesh. You got to keep the learning going. So we don't do a set amount, but what we do is a set time. So that could be a similar idea. You don't need to worry about that you're going to miss it. What are they? Okay, so they're going to go into this more over here. Now, Peirish Ashil Sidra, someone sitting and he's doing Shnai Mikra Ve'echad Targum, let's say. Mikri Davar Sheish Kitzur, that's called something that has an amount, because when you reach the end of the Parsha, you're done. So that is going to be permissible to learn Erev Shabbos, even the Chiddush is before you were involved with purchasing necessities for Shabbos. Okay, you guys reading it? There it is. We are not concerned that you might continue with your learning until the night and you won't have time to prepare for Shabbos. If you're not going to find after you learn, excuse me, lick noise, you're not going to find anything to purchase. Don't learn in the morning because you're not going to find it. So this really, Baruch Hashem, doesn't apply nowadays, where we have a case of supermarkets and there's always overabundance and extra food. But the truth is, I brought this point up with someone about you should purchase it before. You should purchase it before you learn, with getting caught up and everything. Because the truth is over here that if you go, for example, the bakery across the street from the Gourmet Garden, they do run out of certain challahs. They have limited left. You go there 3 hours before Shabbos. What you see is what you get. There's not as much available, especially 2.5 hours before Shabbos. Whatever. What you see is not as much as when you were there. So, anyways, so this is the idea from the siman. Let's minimize this and let's go back to the Levush over here. Let's go back to the Levush now. So the Elia Rabbah over here says, I don't understand the source of the Levush Yomtiv because it's this explicit Ramah which we just learned in Siman Reish Nun Aleph. We're going to even learn about that more when we learn that siman. But anyways, it's from Yerushalmi. That's where Levush is coming from, and he says that you should learn less. Kasa Magen Avraham. Magen Avraham writes, this is again in Siman Reish Nun Aleph, called in Vav B'Shem Seder Hayom. I've done exactly what we just saw. The Mishnah Berurah quotes the Seder Hayom. The Mishnah Berurah quotes this Magen Avraham that we just learned it. If a person learns something that has a set amount, or he's learning with a lot of people, don't nullify that learning. You should still learn. When you're learning yeshiva, that's called something that doesn't have a set amount. They have a lot of pilpul over there. Yim lo b'Rashi Hasidim, unless you're doing Rashi. Shai Mikra Targum Sarachi, and you got to look into this one. Okay. Eli Rabba, next point, quote to the Mata Moshe, who says, this it's called Toyameha Chaim Zachu. Someone who tastes it will merit life. So this is referring to that there's a mitzvah to taste from the dishes on Erev Shabbos in order to fix it properly, to make sure that it tastes good, to fix it properly. So this is the entire Levush. I thought that it was certainly worthwhile to see these ideas inside. Number one, about the decrease in limud, questionable source, exactly where it's coming from. And number two is this idea to realize that if a very chashuv guest was coming. Let's go straight to the Aruch Hashulchan now. Rabbi Chiel Michal Epstein, he writes over here. He says, if they're selling something in the morning, it's a mitzvah to get it even before davening. As long as you're not going to miss the time of Shema, and don't set a time to learn before you are involved with the preparations of Shabbos. Siv Gimel calls it a Rambam. Perik Lamed of Hilchos Shabbos, Halacha V'Av. Even though a person is very important, usually he doesn't go out to the marketplace. He has servants that are going to do it for him. And he's never involved with any of the work in his house. Nevertheless, he's nevertheless obligated to do something that is needed for Shabbos with his body, because that is considered honoring Shabbos, as we saw. Then he writes, because Bezel Lashon Chiyuv. So you see over here that the language invokes a language of an obligation. He says you're obligated, not you should strive. He says you're obligated. Comes up the Aruch Hashulchan and picks up on that slight linguistic nuance. Why does he say it's an obligation? Torah and Shulchan Aruch never said there's an obligation. They said you should strive. Not mistaken, the Be'er Halacha is also going to pick up on this. The Rambam never meant that it's a full-fledged obligation. Because there are many people who don't do it themselves. And furthermore, the Gemara over there considers who would do it themselves. So we see from over there that many people wouldn't do that themselves. Elohu hider mitzvah. Rather, it is a preferable mitzvah. Vetzlinu comes along the Aruch Hashulchan and says, by us, our wives do it. They prepare everything for Shabbos. L'kavod Shabbos v'isho kegufo, and one's wife is considered like his own body, like he did it. So this is perhaps one could say uncharacteristic of the Aruch Hashulchan, who usually is more of the lenient approach, and when it comes to these inyanim, usually wouldn't say something like an ishto kegufo, but nevertheless, the Aruch Hashulchan is writing halachas over, and he's saying, look, let's be honest, ishto kegufo. It counts when your wife prepares something, when she buys something, that as if you did it. Now we're gonna have to see if others cholik. It looks like ayin kuntras achron lehagoin Rav Zalman Sarachian. He's referencing a kuntras achron from the Shulchan Aruch Harav, and he says Sarachian. So we're gonna have to see if we chance upon this Shulchan Aruch Harav, who seems like is arguing on this idea and doesn't apply isho kigufo. After all, this idea is highly questionable from a halachic perspective, since the Gemara itself says that many amoros were involved personally with the preparations of Shabbos, unless you want to learn that they did a hiddur. But even so, they obviously were in somach on this idea. They didn't rely on this concept of isho kegufo. So that's something to delve into more regarding the Aruch Hashulchan.
Are we gonna look at the Yerushalmi or
The Yerushalmi? Which
the
one?
China's, the one that they quoted?
The one that they quoted? On what? On learning?
Yeah.
We could.
Alright,
You want me to make a
just figure it
PDF?
out. Alright, maybe.
Yeah, I think we should also do the Bavli on Kufya test, especially with the story with Yosef, Moikir Shabbos over there.
Oh, wow.
You know that story?
Vaguely.
Vaguely. So it's kedai to see it inside, and we'll.
That's one with the fish?
Yeah, yeah.
The pearl?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yeah.
okay.
So it's kedai to learn it, maybe learn some of the mafarshim on that. Got it. I mean, it's to because we're learning about preparations for food. I think it will be a tremendous amount of chizuk to see how much, and for the expenses that we have on food also, that sometimes the people may be like, oh, I'll go cheap on this, I'll go. That ties into the parsha with the hypocrisy thing also. This is where the expenses should be. Person shouldn't go cheap on expenses for Shabbos, right? So the person's spending, shelling out $1,000 to go on a vacation, but he's going a little cheap on the Shabbos food. Adam. Yeah, exactly. So the base Levi. So the Koponim. So this is it's Ozdalad. Yeah, all right, we'll try to do that. It's really more siman rationale, but it ties directly into here more than rationale. But Nachal Nitam Ber Shabbos called to have Shil. Shili Shabbos to Ameh Chaim Zochel V'Zeh HaKol Mekublu Shabbos Gemish Shemechem Mitzat Mal Adam Godel Kab Panim Shtoim Al Tashlim Nakei Abayis V'Hachkot Sachin Shemechem Matmal Chiyasa. Idea over here is to taste every single dish. You prepare the entire house like a very important person is coming. You clean the entire house. You sharpen the knife. You prepare yourself for eating. And v'yarba b'basar. Yarba b'basar means v'yayin. You have a lot of meat and wine. Don't go cheap on it. According to one's ability, which is probably referring to financial ability. If you add, they will add. They will add from Shamayim to what you're going to get. As long as you're having the intention that it is going to be done l'kavod Shabbos. It has to be done l'kavod Shabbos. So this is the Indian over here. Okay, so this is the Aruch Hashulchan, and you know what? I want to stress this point actually. He's saying over here actually an important line. If you add, they're going to add from your Shamayim as long as your intention is l'kavod Shabbos. If a person is just buying, he's buying $400 worth of food, and he's having the intention in the back of his mind he's gonna have leftovers the entire week. He doesn't need to cook anything, and that's not what we're talking about. Number one. Number two is if a person's buying a tremendous amount and he knows that he's gonna be overeating and stuffing his face. So the Eloi Rabba and Siman Kufay, and look it up, says that he's over 3 isurim daraisa. Baal Tashaksu, Hishamer Loch, and Baal Tashaksu, Hishamer Loch, and what was the other one? Pain Tishkach. I think it was 3 over there. That's what he says. So he's violating 3 isurim daraisa over there. So keep that in mind. The person's overeating on Shabbos. So it has to be the right balance, like salt, not too much, not too little. Okay, let's take a look at the Kaf HaChayim. Kaf HaChayim over here says Os Beis V'nir Li Diyesh Loimar Gam B'Halichasoy Hareni Hoilish Lichnu Chavod Shabbos L'Kayim Mitzvah Yom Shishim Chich B'Tachim Shorish Mitzvah. Okay, it's the idea of saying that I'm doing this L'Chavod Shabbos Kodesh. Okay, here he brings this idea of Toimei Chaim Zachu. Yeah, he's not really adding much, honestly. All right, so this is the idea. Let's go straight to the Mishnah Berurah. That's what we're gonna go straight to right now. Let's take a look over here. The Mishnah Berurah. Where is this? The PDF file. Aleph. All right, let's go through it. See what happens over here. Mishnah Berurah, long behalach over here. Very long, and it's going to continue on to the next page. We're going to see what the agenda of the behalach is over there. He's going to touch upon something that he's going to discuss over here in Os Aleph. Yashkin baboker means that you should wake up early in the morning. Shulchan Aruch says wake up early. Dechsiv, the pasuk says, "Vayomu mashishi vehechinu eis asher yaviu," that they would wake up on Erev Shabbos and they would prepare that which they would bring. This is talking about by the mon. Hachana dumyo dehava. The preparation is similar to bringing it. V'hava saman halo haisa lahalter baboker. And the bringing of the mon occurred immediately in the morning. Dechsiv, because the pasuk says in Shmos, vayilketu oisoi baboker baboker. They prepared it in the morning. They gathered it in the morning. The preparations for Shabbos should be done immediately in the morning. The preparation should be done. So that's an important point. What does that mean? Immediately after someone recites Shema and davens Shemona Esrei. Well, I obviously started learning about this more. And today I said, you know what? I'm going to get more serious with this because I kind of forgot about this idea of being involved with the preparations early. And this morning I took my kids to the bakery. I said 8:15, we're going. And I went right after I davened. We went straight there. The meters, you pull right up. There aren't so many cars there. They're free before 9 o'clock. You pull right up. No meter. Crazy people over there. Maids and everything. The maids, yeah. And we pulled right up. We got it. I did the whole thing from my house to the bakery under 15 minutes. Round trip. No one's on the road. The truth is, we got hit by a lot of school buses, but that's part of the Lefum Saragra and the
Gourmet Glaw? Where is this? Which bakery?
Go to the bakery. The truth is, we're going to learn about it in Siman Reish Mem Beis, who gave me the heter to go to the bakery. Isn't there an idea of making challah at your house specifically? How then could anyone do something so sacrilegious and go to the bakery and not make challahs in their own house? Good question, David. We're going to get to that in Siman Reish Mem Beis. Right. But anyways, this idea over here is brought down of going nice and early to be involved with the preparation of Shabbos. Let's take a look straight at those. The Mishnah Berurah commentary on this specific point that the Mishnah Berurah is making over here. The Ashkim Aboiker, it's mashmat. The hachana was when they would bring it. And they darshan the hachana, the preparation of the food you eat on Shabbos, is similar to the bringing of the man for the field, which was done immediately in the morning. That's what it's implied from over here. Let's take a look straight at the footnote. Footnote Gimel, as long as you recite Shema and Daven first, you should preferably do that. Kasa Mishnah Berurah B'Sifro Shem Olam. Mishnah Berurah writes in one of his lesser-known Svarim Shem Olam. Anything is really lesser known after the Mishnah Berurah on Chafetz Chaim. But anyways, he has a couple dozen other Svarim that he wrote. Kasa Mishnah Berurah B'Sifro Shem Olam B'Shamati B'Shem Gadol Echad. Shem, I heard from one Gadol Lefi Mashi Yadua Mechazal. Chazal teaches the Misha Shoymer Shabbos Boilam Hazeh. As gam sham boilam haba filu im nes chayiv chos v'shalom oynish gehenim over avonois aveinu nenesh v'yom. Wow, Chazal teaches that someone who guards Shabbos in this world, so in the next world he will be protected, and even if he's obligated to get punished in Gehenim because of certain sins that he did, he won't get punished on Shabbos itself. Wow,
I thought that Gehenim stops on Shabbos.
It does.
So what does this line mean?
It's a good question. It's a good question. It's a good question. I'm not sure the answer. Oh, here's the answer. The chiddush is that this fellow over here, granted, everyone won't get punished on Shabbos, but he won't get punished already from Erev Shabbos, because when he's involved with this preparation for Erev Shabbos, is considered an extension of Shabbos, and he won't get punished for that either. Umagino loves Chus Shabbos. The merit of Shabbos will protect this individual. Wow. Therefore, a person needs to be very careful to strive with the preparations of Shabbos and be good for him now and then later on. Similar to Moshe Shabbos. Until a person says, Uvalatzion and Mariv, it's not considered that the Shabbos halachically ended for him in terms of the punishment for Gehenna. Because the Kedusha, the holiness of Shabbos continues until that time, just like it continues after Shabbos, as we learned in Siman, Reishadi, Hey, the halachas of Havdalah, so too it continues before. Kenu Ber of Shabbos, Meisha, Maschil, Sassim, Starting Shabbos, Miss Noislav Kedusha Shabbos, the Kedusha of Shabbos already starts sparking. So this is the idea. We're going to get to this more. Amir Hashem. Next week. Everyone should have a wonderful day and wonderful Shabbos. Real from you.
Okay.
Yep.
The second time this week.
What'd you say, David?
This week.
Was it this week? Oh,
Nothing?
yeah. That's it.
All right, have a good Shabbos.
You have a good Shabbos. Have a good Shabbos.